A thread by Brian Cates. Democrats held another relief bill hostage to try to extort a massive bailout for blue cities and states, totally apart from the CCP virus. So Trump is now signing an executive order to get around the Democrat hostage takers. Oh, gee. How are Democrats going to get national mail-in voting now? You go right ahead, Democrats. You go right ahead and file lawsuits where you have to specifically state you are demanding this relief get held up until your blue states and cities get their bailouts and national mail-in voting is added in. Go for it. The only real pathway to national mail-in voting for the presidential election this November was via Trump signing a bill sent to his desk, which was never going to happen. The let's sue our way to national mail-in voting via the courts is not going to work. But it's the only way left up to the Democrats now. The only way for them to get the massive bailouts they want for the cities and states they ran into the ground, and the national mail-in voting they want, is to sue for it in the courts. See why Trump wins? Trump and McConnell were ready for this. This is why flipping so many courts over the past 3.5 years was so important. This is why Schumer is suddenly reversing himself on keeping the schools closed. Too late. He awoke to the danger. Now they don't get the bailout money. They don't get the national mail-in voting. And the only pathway left to them before the election is to sue in court, which the reporters instantly grasped and asked Trump about. What did he say? He said checkmate, because that's what it is. Checkmate. Thunderball. He always runs while others walk. He acts while other men just talk. He looks at this world and wants it all, so he strikes like Thunderball. He knows the meaning of success. His needs are more, so he gives less. They call him the winner who takes all, and he strikes like Thunderball. Any woman he wants, he'll get. He will break any heart without regret. His days of asking are all gone. His fight goes on and on and on. But he thinks that the fight is worth it all, so he strikes like Thunderball. Lol, Twitter. Hashtag stable genius is now sensitive content. This is why they're losing. Addendum. This is 100% correct. Chief Justice Roberts himself opened up the door for this with that DACA ruling just last month. Remember, Trump himself warned that this gives the president too much power if executive orders can't be reversed by successors. You don't understand, the Democrats are about to loudly whine to the courts. It doesn't matter that the Supreme Court just set a precedent that executive orders can't be reversed. This needs to happen now. Now, do you hear? Right now, before November. You realize the optics of this if the Democrats sue? Stop. Not a penny of that relief money can be spent until our demands for bailouts and other progressive wish list items are met. Going to court to keep the relief money held hostage to their terrorist demands. And this literally just happened. Biden answered a question this morning and clearly stated he had picked his vice presidential running mate, was waiting to make the announcement, and then, I'm not making this up, his campaign just came out and said that he was only joking. Cracks are showing all over the Biden campaign hologram. It's not real. I've been saying for weeks, it's not a real campaign. Democrats maintain the illusion only with the media's help. Democrats just found out their gambit of holding the relief bill hostage to try to force their way to national mail-in voting is dead. It's all about turnout now. Guess what? The Biden campaign has no ground game. No, really, they don't have one. Team Trump is now knocking on 1 million doors a week. Team Biden? Now go ahead, read this. Politico. Trump's campaign knocks on 1 million doors a week. Biden's knocks on 0. Vote fraud was the last desperate hope of this National Democratic Party that spent the last few months literally driving voters away in the blue states while they committed political suicide on every front. Without national mail in voting, they're doomed. You have to get within 5% to even have a remote shot at flipping a state's votes for reps, senators, and president with ballots found after Election Day. When Democrats found votes after Election Day to flip over a dozen House races in California in 2018, it took them over a week. You have to have a large enough base left to make it close enough to steal. Starting to get the picture? The millions of now former Democratic voters who can't wait to pay this lunatic party back for what it's been doing to their families. How are you missing them? Most of these former Democrats flipped to Trump and the GOP after the 2018 midterm elections, when they say just how vast a leap to the radical far left their party took. A leap that has actually accelerated and has become even more blatant during this pandemic. So I'm telling you now, and you can quote me on this, the Democratic base started shrinking in 2019, and since the start of this year, it's shrunk even more. The Democratic leadership knows this, which is exactly why they were so determined to get mail-in voting. They not only needed mail-in voting to cheat, to have a shot to win this time around, they knew they needed to cheat on such a massive, never before attempted scale because millions of their former voters crossed over to join Trump and the GOP. I keep telling the fear porn peddlers the walk away from Democrats movement that Brandon Straka and Scott Presler exemplify is 100% real. I don't care if you dismiss it or say it doesn't matter. I did the research. You didn't. Don't at me and waste my time arguing. You can find literally thousands of just Black Americans proudly posting their walk-away campaign videos on social media. Democrats lost too much. Their insanity drove too much of their own base away. I'm telling you, they can't close the gap with fraud. So, to sum up, the only pathway to national mail-in voting now is for Democrats to sue in the courts. And the Supreme Court just ruled last month executive orders can't be reversed. We're in week 3 of Trump's 8-week plan.